Hello, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to another episode of Ask Rob and Rob, where you ask us a question and we give you some answers, and hopefully you find it useful. Now, if you'd like to ask us a question, we make it really easy to do. Rob, what do you have to do?
All you have to do is pick up the phone and leave us a voicemail. Our number is 013 808 00035. That's 013 808 00035. Just leave us a message with your question and your name and we'll answer it on the show for you. Or if you prefer to use your computer instead of your phone, just go over to thepropertyhub.net/podcast and you'll see a link to leave us a voicemail from there. Whichever way you do it, we'd love to hear from you.
And James has done exactly that. So let's listen.
Hi, Rob and Rob. My name is James Scott and I'm from Hertfordshire. I've been listening to the podcast for quite some time now. Thank you for all the useful content. It's been very helpful. I'd like to ask a question about refinancing for a second and possibly even a third and fourth investment. Is it always the best idea to remortgage? I ask because I'm worried that potentially it could put me in a position where the profit from the first property is pretty well non-existent. So do I go ahead anyway as it will work out in the long run, or should I be looking at other ways to raise funds for another deposit? Thanks very much.
Okay, so James raises a really good point here. Remortgaging is often seen as the answer for growing a portfolio. It's something that we talk about quite a lot, and it's easy to lose track of what James is talking about. So you can get blasé about it and go, oh yeah, well, build in some equity, buy at a good price, and then you can just refinance, or wait for the market to go up and then you can refinance. But the key is that cash flow is everything. And this is what James is talking about. When you do remortgage at a higher value, your mortgage payment is, of course, going to go up because you've borrowed more money. So if you're staying at the same interest rate on a higher amount of money, obviously your monthly payment is going to be higher. It's really important then to make sure that once you've got that higher payment, you're still making money every month. If you're refinancing so you can buy more property, but as a result, the property that you've already got isn't making any money, you're putting yourself at risk there. Because it doesn't take much to happen in terms of interest rates, voids, repairs, or whatever else to leave you making a loss. And unless you're drowning in cash, there's only so long that you can sustain a loss for without actually being in danger of missing payments and getting repossessed. We've got an episode of the Property Podcast about how to avoid a property crash, which we'll link to in the show notes. That covers this same kind of territory, and it shows how important it is to have good cash flow. Also worth bearing in mind that when the rules change and you can't offset the interest anymore, then refinancing as a strategy becomes less attractive. Not saying that it's not going to be a good idea, but it's something else to think about and make sure that you factor into your numbers.
Remember, if you're doing long-range forecasts and you're predicting this and you're going, well, if I refinance at that level and so on, my rent's this level, remember that rents go up as well. So property prices go up in time, but so will rents. Don't be too aggressive with your predictions, because as Rob said, if you get it wrong, you could get in trouble. But you do need to factor that in. But remember, it is a great way to grow your portfolio. And if it does stack up, then seriously consider it. Don't be put off by what we've said. It's just that things you have to take into account. Yeah, go ahead if the numbers make sense. Just make sure you do a stress test.
It really is as simple as that. I mean, the question was, is it always the best idea to remortgage? The answer to that question is no, it's not always the best idea. You've just got to run the numbers for your own situation, put in the kind of assumptions about the present and the future that you're comfortable with, and you don't feel like you're being overly optimistic or pessimistic, and see how it comes out. But it all comes down to that your expenses versus the rent that's coming in. That is the absolute key to finding out if it's going to work. If you can't make it work, then yes, you will have to look elsewhere for the deposit, but that's a decision that only you can make. Also, this is where having a good broker on side as well, because a really good broker isn't just going to look up a best buy table and tell you what comes out on top. The kind of broker that you want to work with will be an experienced investor themselves. They'll understand the issues and they'll be able to give you advice that goes beyond just kind of who's got the cheapest rates by now and help you out with your strategy in this kind of way. Also, we mentioned the Avoid a Property Crash episode. You'll be able to find that in the show notes for this episode, which are at thepropertyhub.net/property advice.
So on Ask Rob and Rob, you ask us questions, but let me ask you a question. Would you like to spend a whole day with us working on your strategy, Being surrounded by other like-minded investors and coming away from it with a clear plan of action? Well, if so, get your phone, text Summit, SUMMIT, leave a space, pop your email in, and we'll send you the details. Text it to 88802. So that's Summit, leave a space, put your email in, 88802, and we'll be in touch.
And this kind of question that we've had today is the kind of thing that we love getting into when you're in the hot seat at a summit, because we can really get your exact numbers for you and dig into it in a way that we can't do when we don't know so much about the situation. But I hope you found the general guidelines that we're able to give you today useful. That's all for Ask Rob and Rob this week. We've got the Property Podcast coming up on Thursday, and we'll be back with another of your questions this time next week. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.